I need to get a better background.
Fluff the pillows a little bit. There you go.
I gotta get no, you know what? I used to have a Cowboys flag that I can probably
there
put
you
on
go.
the back. Yeah,
show the biases real fast.
That's right.
Well, welcome to now those of you who are enjoying this first intro. We're doing a little fantasy football action. So we're both teachers, so we're doing this during the summer as best we can. We'll try to continue it during the year, but you never know how that's going to work. But my name's Ben.
My name is Sal.
And we're ready to go. So Sal, why don't you tell us about your fantasy football background?
There's not really that much of a background. I mean, I think I've been doing this for 5 years with you guys, 5 or 6 years. And then before that, I was just on NFL.com doing it by myself, but there was nothing that made it fun because it was just me against a bunch of random people. So I've been doing this for 5 years, have not won a championship yet. And I think that's why we're doing this, so I can win one.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. So, I'm still learning. I'm fairly green. I'm just trying to not give my players away every year from now on. That's the goal. as I've given championships to almost pretty much everybody who I traded with. So
there is a correlation. I don't want to say it, but there's a little correlation of making the finals and trading with Sal in our league. But we're going to fix that this year. We're going to get Sal to the finals. And that's the goal of this is we assume that most people, like I love fantasy football pods. I listen to them 5 days a week and they get way too in the weeds, like super into the weeds. And I assume that most people just want the basic information. Who do I start? Who should I cut? Who should I pick up? So that's what we're doing. That's our goal here. And the other goal is I want you to win your league. I want you to talk a lot of smack on the group chat and win the whole thing, or at least be in position. You can't win it every year, but you can be close or like do the best you can, be the best version of yourself. So I played now for 17 years, 18 years. I think it was 2007. The Patriots undefeated season, the Tony Romo Cowboys is actually what turned me on to fantasy football because they frustrated me so much and I had no control over any of the outcome. I was like, I got to find another football fix. This fantasy football, this is great. And that's, man, I've had a lot of fun. I've played 17 years, mostly one league. I've played 2 leagues a couple times with work or church or something like that. So I've played and I've won 9 championships. I've also lost in the finals 8 times. So like I usually can get my teams pretty rolling in these. So in our current league, 3 out of 7. I have lost in the finals once, and I've lost the champion in the playoffs the other times. So like my teams have always been right there. All right, so our assumptions, we assume most people play with their friends and teams. Most leagues are playing PPR these days because you get more players involved that are relevant. Yeah. So that's kind of the assumptions we're playing with. I'm pulling most of my data from ESPN. So if you're asking about a ranking or something like that, we play on ESPN.com. So that's the data I'm going to go off of. And so those are our background assumptions. So Sal, tell me some of the lessons that you've learned through the years of doing this.
Okay, in my 5 years versus 17 years that you've done this, well, I've learned a lot. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is to not be emotionally attached to my players. I think that's the one that I've learned the most because I draft a player and I'm like, I'm going to go all the way with this player, or not be emotionally attached to a team that I love, right? Like drafting somebody that I love in the Cowboys and then not wanting to give it up because, he's a Cowboys.
But there is something like, there's nothing wrong with like Dak was great last year, or like loving Dak or Zeke all those years. I had him like 3 or 4 years in a row and I'm like, the dude's great. It does kill you though, because you're like, why are you throwing it here? It does. Getting emotionally attached to players or unattached to players is so difficult. And that's one of the things you'll have to do, like with trading, is got to figure out like people value certain players more than others. And you got to figure out how to properly value your own players, but also properly value how they value their players, because that's where you can gain value in trades and things like that.
Exactly. And going off of trades, that's my other lesson too. Be careful with trades. Yeah. Don't just trade just to trade, or trade because, you think somebody's going to do better the next week. And then you trade your main guy for that guy that you think, oh, yeah, he's going to do well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. The other thing, don't panic too much. Usually a 500 record, depending on your league, like if half the teams make the playoffs in your league, usually like a 500 record will get you in the playoffs. 7-7. So it's like, that's us every year. Is 7-7 has gotten in the playoffs. One time 6-8 got in the playoffs. So like, don't panic. If you're 3-5, you're okay. You're not great, but you're okay. You're going to need to win. You're going to need to turn around quick, but don't sell the farm just yet. You might need to look into things.
Yeah.
But the main lessons I've learned is to be active. Always looking on the waiver wire, and always trying to read, and then also like be quick to adjust to new intel. That's one thing where last year actually really helped me was there was Kyron Williams. He was the backup to Cam Akers at the start of last year. No one really remembers that because they cut Cam Akers after like week 2. In week 1, I remember he had like 12 carries and 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I was like, that's interesting. And I had won that week. So I was at the bottom of the waiver wire and like Nakua had gone off. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting Nakua. Everyone's going to go after Nakua. And so I'm like, okay. But I'm like, this Kyron Williams looks pretty decent. And then that ended up being the winning move. So be quick to adjust to new intel, stay active, don't give up. When you're drafting a player, what are we looking for? So you're looking to score points.
That's right.
They score points because I call it 3 T's. This is my German side coming up. But talent, touches, and targets. Like, is the guy good? Yes or no? Is he touching the ball? Yes or no? Is he getting targets? Is he getting looks from the quarterback if he's a receiver? And if he gets all those boxes, man, draft him. If he's not very good, but he's getting a lot of touches and targets, he'll work. Or if he's like really good, but not getting a lot of touches, you're like, so like a great player is going to have those intersection of talent, touches, and targets. Is he getting the volume? Is he good player?
Mm-hmm.
Is it gonna work for you, Justin Jefferson? Yes. Talented, lots of looks, lots of touches. Or like if they get a lot of looks, like Drake London used to be, he would get some targets and he has talent, but they couldn't get him the ball, no touches. So he's a player I hated because it's like he's great, the offense is horrible. Yeah. So those 3 T's, those are things I always look at: talent, touches, and targets. We're trying to get 120 points a game. We're trying to get to 7-7 just to make the playoffs. Because once you make the playoffs,
that's it. It's another game.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, true.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to break down some teams in the NFC South, which is, unless you're a fan of these teams, probably the weirdest division there is. You got the Saints, you got the Panthers, you got the Bucks, and you got the Falcons. And we're only going to cover what I consider draftable players. Like, we're not going to go super deep. Once again, we want to do this like once a week, so get the intel you need to win your league. We're going to talk about first is the New Orleans Saints, and we'll go quarterback, running back, wide receivers. The Saints
That's how I have it.
Kind of the weirdest team in fantasy. They don't have world beaters necessarily, but they also have like a lot of talent on their roster. It's just a weird team that screams 6-11 to 8-9 kind of thing.
Okay. I was going to say I had them at 8-9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just
6-11. That's wow.
It could go. That's what I'm saying. There's a variance there. Like they could even almost like Derek Carr finished QB 16 last year. When you're looking at quarterbacks, you want a lot of touchdowns, someone like Brock Purdy, or you want a lot of rushing, someone like Lamar Jackson. Yeah. He does neither of those. So he's not a quarterback if you're in a 10-person league or even an 8-person league that I would draft. I just avoid him. But if you draft 2 quarterbacks, he's not someone I really even want to draft because there's no like Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels run the ball a lot. They got a lot of upside. He doesn't have any upside.
I mean, what I have next to his name is the word ugh. He averaged 13.9 points per game last season. That's what I have on here. I don't know that I would even have him as a backup quarterback on my team. So, no. Stay away from Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Very inconsistent.
Very, very inconsistent. The next player we're going to go, Alvin Kamara. So what do you think about old Alvin Kamara?
Luckily, he's not suspended this year, right? But I mean, when he came back, he finished second in receptions among running backs last year.
Yeah, so there is some. So he is. If we're playing PPR, which is point per reception, he is gold. So like you said, he averaged almost 18 points a game last year, 17.9, which is the third highest average. But he did have a 3-game suspension at the start of the year, so he finishes running back 11. A general rule is for running backs, you want to be like Leonardo DiCaprio with his girlfriends, 28 and under, 27 and under, really. So he's on the older side of that. So right now he's ranked on ESPN as running back 11 or 34th overall. And that kind of feels right. So that's early third round, second round, because there is that risk with number one, this offense is not very fun. And number two, he's getting old. So,
and you have Derek Carr throwing the ball at him. So,
but he can dump it to him. So that's nice. I like him. Third rounder, I think would be a great pick. If he's your number one, if you get him in the third round, fantastic. If he's like your second running back you drafted, or if you drafted 2 receivers ahead of him, you're building a great roster. So nothing wrong with him. The next player, so running backs, think like Leonardo DiCaprio. Chris Olave is the receiver that is you're gonna want to draft. He is probably gonna be the same as last year. Like I don't see really any difference year over year because he's still got the same system, same limitations. Finished last year as wide receiver 16. That's kind of about where I have him. ESPN ranks him as 10th in 10th wide receiver and 18th overall. I think like they have him above Mike Evans. They have him above Marvin Harrison and Brandon Ayuk. And I would draft those 3 ahead of him personally, assuming Ayuk gets a new deal with the 49ers. But, if he falls to the third round, I'm fine with that. Second round feels a little pricey to me.
Yeah. I mean, I have him as a high wide receiver too.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like third round.
Yeah. Pretty much. And that's kind of it for the Saints. It's another one that was like really big on fantasy radar of like, this guy. But like last year he had, 46 catches, 75 targets, 700 yards. Like he's nice, but like maybe late round.
He's not all the Kamara.
I was like, Kamara probably had more of them. So draft a Shaheed if you want. I'm probably not going to leave the draft with him.
I won't either, and I'm green on this. So
then that goes. Let's leave the Saints and go to the Falcons. And this is the biggest question mark there is, mostly just because of Kirk Cousins' health, because he tore his right Achilles and he's right-handed, so that's the one he'll push off of. So we'll just have to see for him how he is going to fare coming off the injury. He was quarterback 6 in points per game before his injury. And his coaching tree, the offense is going to be similar. It's like the same coaching tree from the Rams. So basically it's going to be a similar offense because his coach from the Vikings is from the Rams. Yeah. But quite frankly, his weapons are not as good. And he's coming off an injury. Yeah, because like he had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison compared to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And also he had Hawkinson and the Vikings. So, and then they have Bijan. So I'm like, your best offensive weapon, you're going to hand the ball to.
Yeah.
So I do not want any Kirk Cousins this year. He just seems risky to me. And honestly, I don't want a lot of Drake London either. Because he's ranked right now as wide receiver 14, and I feel like that's as high as he'll get. Like that's if the season goes perfect for him, at best he finishes wide receiver 14. So that's too rich for me.
See, I have the same questions. One thing that I saw that Kirk Cousins has never had a 20 plus points per game as a quarterback in fantasy.
Right. So he doesn't run.
Yeah. He stays right below 20, right? Which is a good average. But the thing is he healthy?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we would hope he is. The way I see it, if he's healthy, he's going to give you a good 19 points. If he's healthy, I also think Drake London will have a big breakout if Kirk Cousins is healthy. But again, you have Bijan, right?
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson, he's going to be handing the ball off. So, like you said, big question mark. It all depends on his health. If he's healthy, he could be a good number 2, right? Put him in there for when your quarterback is hurt or there's nobody else to pick up.
Bye week.
Or even a bye week. Yeah, I was going to say, or bye week. Yeah. So that's the way that I see Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. He's just someone, if on waivers, that's fine. I just don't want to use a draft pick on him. Kyle Pitts. So have you had the Kyle Pitts experience yet? I've never had him in the leagues because someone always drafts him high.
Yeah.
His first season, 1,000 yards. I think the first rookie tight end since Mike Ditka or something like that for 1,000 yards as a rookie. Second season, Matt Ryan falls off. The Falcons fall off. And then the potential is there. Like he was drafted in the top 10. He's huge. He's fast. He's got all the tangible things you want. It just hasn't happened partially because their offense was bad last year. New coach.
Yeah.
So he's currently ranked as tight end 10 at ESPN, 88th overall. Right. So an 8th or a 9th round pick. Would you take him in the 8th or 9th round?
I would if he was there. Just because of the name, right? Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
And because he has potential. Would I take him before 8th or 9th? No.
Yeah.
Do I think somebody's going to take him 8th or 9th in our league? Probably.
Yeah, someone's going to take him in like the 6th round. And that's where it's like, that's where, you know, the 8th or 9th round, it has the risk baked in. He's also young, which that's one thing where it's like, a good determiner of success is like, what have you done for me in the last couple seasons? Right. And so his last couple seasons have been bad, but he's, you know, in his early 20s, he still fits like Leonardo DiCaprio would still date him. Yeah. 8th or 9th round. Loving that. Earlier than that, tight end's actually really deep this year.
Yeah. There's a lot. One
of the draft strategies I'm going to talk about later on is like, I'm going to wait on tight end. I'm like, there's a couple guys I'm targeting, but it's not any of the top 3 guys. That's me personally.
So you're not taking, what's his name? Taylor Swift's boyfriend on the 2nd round?
No, not particularly. Swifties is a big target audience of ours, so I'm sure he'll be great.
Yes, we are.
And then nothing really to talk about for Bijan. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah.
He's ranked to the top 3. If you take him first overall, cool. Cool. No problem with that.
I would take him. First round. I think with the new Raheem Morris's offense, I think it's going to be good. He's going to be a good pickup this year.
Yeah. The only thing too is if you're looking for insurance, Tyler Algier, if Bijan gets hurt, he's going as running back 41, 12th round, so near the end. So you could take him if you wanted to. I don't often take insurance backs, but that's just my own strategy.
I do. Right.
Yeah. So that's what we got for the Falcons.
Right.
So next, Tampa Bay. This is actually a team I like because it keeps math simple. There's limited options and they're limited good options. You have 4 players you're looking to draft. Just kidding, 3, because you're not really like Baker Mayfield's in there and he did great last year. He finished last year as quarterback 10, but his scoring was all over the map. He get 20, then he get 5, then he get 28, then he gets 7. You're just everywhere. So he was a player I would, even if he finished his quarterback 10 again, just due to the inconsistency, he would drive me insane because I would never start him. And then he'd be on my bench scoring 28. And then probably when I would start him, he gets 6. So he just like, we all do it. Or it's like, who's the guy? I traded someone. I think I traded like Josh Jacobs to you one year because I couldn't handle it anymore. I kept getting it wrong. And I'm like, I will take almost anything. Just take him off my hands. I can't handle the fact that every time I start him, he gets 4. And when I bench him, he gets 28.
That's the worst when that happens. And I hate it because this happened to me a couple of times too with some quarterbacks, some running backs. So I get it. I mean, I have him averaging 17.4 points last year. So, and again, I think it's just that inconsistency, right? But he never hits plus 20 on average. Yeah. And I mean, he'll hit a 20 plus 20 when he's on the bench.
Yep. So not someone I love unless you're like going to stream him. Then it'll be some interesting games in the NFC South this year. And the wide receiver room is really actually pretty clear too. You have 2 guys. You have Mike Evans and Chris Godwins. Mike Evans is a freaking dog, and I love him.
Yes, he is.
He finished wide receiver 7 last year. Now he's 30, So he's a little on the older side, and he's listed as wide receiver 12 on ESPN. And he's going number 20 overall. I would love that. Like if I get him in the second round, that's gold.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Even in late second round, early third round. But like I have him like around player number 15, more of like number 10 guy. Personally, like I feel like that's a little low. Just because he always gets 1,000 yards. Him and Baker had great rapport last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he always gets his, no matter who his quarterback is.
True. I mean, he's had what? Tom Brady?
Mm-hmm. He had Jameis.
Jameis, Baker. Yeah, and he's had 10 straight seasons of 1,000+ yards. So with 3 different quarterbacks, this guy is good.
He's a dog, and I love him. The other one, Chris Godwin. So last year, they had him all over the place. This year, I think he'll do better because he's going to go back into the slot, I heard. So that'll help. And then he's now 2 years removed from an ACL injury. And typically with ACLs, the second year, they're back to themselves. So he's going he averaged 12.5 points last year. So like a flex type of guy. Yeah. Finished wide receiver 28. And he's going as wide receiver 30. I think that's perfect.
Around 8 or 9?
Yeah, bigger name. I think wide receiver 30 is perfect for him. I wouldn't reach too much just because he is getting older. And, he could have a resurgence, but,
he does better in the slot. That's what I was reading, that he does a lot better in the slot. So if they're going to move him back to the slot, I think he would be a good pickup, to see what could happen. I mean, you still have Mike Evans, who's going to get most of the touches, most of the looks. But if he's on the slot and he does better in the slot, he's a good guy. A wide receiver 3 or flex.
Lastly, for them, Rachaad White, the running back, great fantasy, even though like they couldn't really run the ball last year. So they averaged 3.5 yards a carry, but like they kept giving him the ball. He's a bigger back. Like I think he's like 210. So he can pass block. So he's in all the time. And most importantly, he had 64 catches and finished as running back 4 last year, mostly to his pass catching ability. So he averaged 16 carries a game and almost 4 catches a game, which is like perfect consistency. I love consistency. He is listed as running back 13 and the 25th pick overall. I think that's a steal. Like Travis Etienne's going ahead of him. Joe Mixon's going ahead of him. And I'm like, I would take him above those two for sure. Now, everything did kind of go right for him last year, but not much has changed. Like they did get another running back, but not anyone I don't think he'll be running back 4, but I think he's closer to running back like 10 than he is to running back 15.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm surprised he came out as running back 4 from last year. It shows how much I pay attention, but he'd be a good pickup. Early second round?
Yeah, 25th pick overall. So 25th. What would that be? Top 10 is first round, top 20 is second round. So yeah, if he's going as mid third round, man, I think that's great. That'd be a great value. And this is preliminary data. Like things change up and down as you get closer to draft season too. So like some people late in draft season, they have a great camp and then they're just shooting up the charts. So some of this data might change. This then leaves us now with the worst team who made the worst trade and the worst jerseys in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers.
Do you want to tell us how you feel about them?
It's a bad jersey. It's a bad color combo. It's kind of goofy.
Really? You don't like the black and the I like bright blue? I liked it when Cam Newton was wearing it, but the helmet itself just it's like too big. Okay. I mean, I like the color. I don't have a problem with their color. Do I have a problem with their team? Yeah, they stink. But I like their colors. Yeah, I would wear one of those jerseys if somebody wants to send me one. Yeah, just repping. I'll rep a Bryce Young jersey. There you go. Did not have any help. Like he wasn't great, but also I always hate this. I always hate this. They're like, this quarterback's terrible. Like he has no one to who's he? He had a bad offensive line. He had no run game. And Adam Thielen was his only wide receiver target. Like, give me a break. The dude had talent. Listen, you win the Heisman, you go first overall because you're pretty good. Right. Like, if you switch him in Houston with, I just totally This is CJ.
Yeah, CJ Stroud. I'm like, why did I just blank on that?
Yeah, CJ Stroud.
Like, does he have a similar season to Stroud? Like, I think probably similar. Maybe not as good, but like, you didn't give him any talent to work with. So,
well, the poor guy had no protection. I just remember watching some of his games, and he was just running around in circles trying to run away from people trying to get him.
Yeah, not someone I'm interested in fantasy just because. You know, he was bad last year. He should be better not as a human being. I was saying as a human being. No. I mean, as a quarterback, he should be better this year.
I mean, I think that's the only upside, right? You have Dave Canales coming in, who people say revived Geno Smith in Seattle, and also Baker Mayfield in Tampa. So there's an upside there. Would I draft him? Probably not. Because I don't know. I don't think they've done much to improve that line. So
yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. They will run the ball. So the coach was the offensive coordinator for Tampa last year, and they didn't have a line, and they still gave Rashad White 17 carries a game. So they do have Chuba Hubbard. They do have Miles Sanders. But at running back, they drafted Jonathan Brooks in the fourth round. Which is kind of like a little weird because he's coming off an ACL injury. Like he tore his ACL in November. Brooks, let's see here. So Hubbard is going in the 16th round as running back 51. As an end of bench guy, I kind of like that because, you know, and we'll have to see in training camp how Brooks looks. They're going to give touches. Brooks, I think, is a guy that's going to come on late in the year. So for me, if he's listed as running back 1966 overall, so a sixth rounder, Jonathan Brooks, I think he's going to do really poorly the first half of the year, just because rookies take a little bit to ramp up and because of his injury. Man, week 5, week 6, maybe look to trade for him. Maybe like package 2-3 player, you know, like a 2 for 2 kind of thing, and put him in there because the owner's probably going to be frustrated with him. Look for maybe a late season thing. Now, just depends on how he looks, obviously. But like, he tore it in November, so the season starts in pretty soon. September. Yeah. So I'm like
7-8 months. I mean, technically, you're good to go by then. But is he going to be full strength?
Yeah. I don't even know, man. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, NFL is totally different than college. So yeah.
So
I mean, they do have him higher than Chuba.
Right. And like I said, Hubbard, maybe for the first few weeks, he's someone you can use as a running back too, maybe a flex. I don't personally like putting running back in my flex, but sometimes you don't have a choice. Yeah, like they're going to try to help out. They're going to try to help out Young as much as possible. The last one. So 2 wide receivers, Adam Thielen. He had a great stretch last year. Too old, and also they got a better target in Deontay Johnson.
John Johnson.
So he's going as wide receiver 35 in the 8th round. And I think that's a pretty good. He's the type of player who's going to help you win games. Like he's probably going to get 8 to 10. You know, he's probably going to get 8 to 12 targets, 6 to 8 catches a game. They're going to be losing a lot. You know, they're going to try to run the ball, but they're going to be losing. And so that means defense is going to be backing up a little bit, maybe some cheap, easy yardage. He's the type of player that helps you win.
Trash points.
Dude, trash points count so much. This is the type of player I love because he's a great wide receiver on a bad team. It's going to be losing late. Give me those garbage time points, baby. Just let me eat them up.
Yep. I love that too. I had a couple of those, but I love trash points.
So that's the player I'm targeting, Deontay Johnson, in that price range. So like you will draft anybody. I will draft anybody at the right price. Yeah. And that's the thing, at the right price. And I think if I get him in the 8th round, that means I've got, so we need 8, right? That means I've got at least 2 running backs, probably 3, at least 2 to 3 wide receivers, and probably my quarterback at that point, and maybe my tight end. Like I'll have most of my roster already filled up, and he'll be my 4th wide receiver. Like that's gold. That's fantastic. Or even if he's my 3rd wide receiver, that's a fantastic value there. So love him. The team itself will probably be better because their coach is going to be better, and you know. Yeah. So
we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. So that's kind of a wrap on our first delve into fantasy football. In summary, remember the team you draft is not the team you're going to finish with. Stay active.
Ooh.
And then what are any closing remarks?
No, just learn a lot like I'm learning. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you.
That's pretty much it.
We'll see you next time.
All righty. Deuces.